Next time it's like, but it's all the same shit has been happening forever. They haven't been helping anybody forever. They're letting fucking politicians slurp on kids. All of our fucking money goes to Israel and they're using it to fucking genocide people. It's like everybody is scared out of their wits right now. It's like our religious leaders are afraid to speak out, and it's like it's a time where it's like Satan is amongst us and our religious leaders are fucking talking about bullshit at the poll. It's just like, what is going, I don't know, man.
We gotta get you off those antidepressants, son. You're losing your fucking marbles.
You think I am?
Come hang out with us. Just chill out.
I'm here.
Just chill out at the mothership tonight.
I do have to pee in a little while, but
you can pee.
I'm gonna pee in a minute, man.
We'll let you.
But no, people are just scared, dude. This is
They
shit
won't
that I
let you
hear
in
from
Canada.
people.
They won't let you pee until you give them your guns.
Really?
That's how they're doing it now.
But what if you have to wash the blackface off the president? Can you fucking use a little bit of piss
you know,
to do
Canada
that?
had this big...
Yeah, dude.
So Joe finally apologizes to Theo. Kind of. Sort of. In the sleaziest possible way. Not in the title. Not in a separate upload. Not in a clean, I was wrong about Theo clip. No. He duct tapes it to the back end of a random Marcus King episode, like a guy hiding an apology in the terms and conditions. That already tells you what this is. This is not remorse. This is janitorial work. This is Joe mopping up his own image after people realized he looked like a complete little bitch in that Theo episode.
You know, we were talking about people on antidepressants that can't get off of them, and I brought up Theo. I brought up this instance where Theo he did a show for Netflix, and it apparently didn't go well, and afterwards he said something to someone in the audience where he said, I'm just trying to not take my own life or not end my own life. I forget exactly how he said it.
I don't know what to tell you about that, man. I'm having a long month. I'm trying not to take my own life. So I just want to get these photos.
And I brought that up. I certainly shouldn't have brought that up in that context. And I probably shouldn't have brought it up, period. But I just sort of wanted to kind of explain why I have this thing with Theo where I just want him to be okay.
And listen to the framing immediately. Joe doesn't start with, I treated my friend like he was mentally unstable because he criticized Israel too directly, which is what happened. He starts with a safer version. I felt bad. I brought up that old clip. I was worried about my friend. Great. Cool. Nice little soft focus friendship defense. But that's not what people were furious about. People were furious because Theo starts talking about Israel, Gaza, war, fear, and Zionist pedophile elite rot. And Joe instantly reaches for the pharmaceutical eject button. He doesn't engage the substance. Or he is too dense to understand this was about more than just Theo. He goes essentially, maybe this is your meds. That's filthy. That's not disagreement. That's just fucking narrative triage and dancing around the subjects of Israel and Zionist influence over our country.
And, you know, we did a podcast a while back where we were talking about, he started talking about Israel, and I was like, I think you're just losing your mind. And a lot of people are like, you're covering for Israel. And it wasn't what I was trying to do. And it is my fault. It's clunky, and I was just trying to talk him off the ledge because I had seen this video, and you'd seen that video too.
I'm trying not to take my own life.
Fuck, that's what's scary too. You're like, there's just a drone out there waiting for you to say the wrong thing. And they put a bullet through you like some child in Gaza who's just trying to fucking find his other deceased brother in a fucking pile of rubble. And they're like, oh, that's a Hamas or whatever. You're like, that kid's fucking 2. He's trying to move a piece of a missile off of a fucking body.
Well, drone warfare in general is crazy.
You can sit there for 4 hours talking about aliens, chimp attacks, and whatever Facebook boomer bullshit got texted to him that morning. But the second the topic is Gaza, surveillance, or the rich little freaks making money off war, Joe turns into a hall monitor with HGH. He doesn't follow the blood trail. He puts little cones around it. 15-15. Theo paints a brutal image here. A drone waiting for you to say the wrong thing. A kid in Gaza digging through rubble for his dead brother. And Joe answers with, well, drone warfare in general is crazy. Unbelievable. And that's like someone describing a very specific murder. And Joe goes, yeah man, crime is nuts. No, you bald idiot. Theo is not giving you a Discovery Channel fun fact. He's trying to drag you into the moral reality of what's happening. And Joe instantly sprays generic podcast Febreze all over it. He more or less admits that Theo started talking about Israel, and Joe was like, I think you're losing your mind. Right? There it is. That's the line. That's why people were disgusted about. Because Joe took political speech, criticism of Israel, criticism of war, criticism of where all this shit is going, and he ran it through antidepressant language. He made it sound like Theo's worldview was a side effect of those meds. Truly pathetic. And that is such a gross little Zionist defense move. You don't answer the argument. You subtly medicalize the person making it. Suddenly the issue is not Gaza. The issue is Theo's brain chemistry, and his worldview being a side effect of those meds. How convenient for Joe. How convenient for Israel. And then, of course, Joe immediately retreats into, people thought I was covering for Israel, and that wasn't what I meant. Amazing. Intent defense. Not, I was wrong. Not, Theo was saying something real. Just, that wasn't my intention. Joe always wants innocence without accountability.
What did you think when you saw that
I
video?
mean, I didn't know there's other context. Yeah, I was
This
like,
is the
that's
other
crazy,
context.
you know?
We should say the other context. So there was a woman that was in the crowd, apparently. Now, by the way, I've talked to Theo. I apologized to Theo. And Theo and I, we started laughing 5 minutes into the conversation. We had a long talk. But one of the things that he told me was that video, this woman had said to him that she wanted him to make a video for suicide awareness. And so he said, look, I'm just trying to not end my own life. That's a very Theo thing to say.
Yeah.
When you take it in that context, it's not as scary. But when you see it by itself, you're like, oh, Jesus.
Just walking across a parking lot, just things feel kind of intense. And when that happens, it takes away your ability to, it takes away that human thing, because then somebody comes up to you, now you're scared, you know, and your heart isn't like in like a helping place. So I don't know, man. I don't know shit. But yeah, just wanted to think out loud. And yeah, if there's somebody that's feeling something similar, then maybe, you know, it's okay. We're both feeling it, and we're not just feeling it by ourselves. In Gaza, there was a lot of I think it was a experimental grounds for a lot of insane new warfare type of possibilities.
Well, a lot of it was traditional missiles, right?
Yeah, but there's a lot of like we had a doctor one time podcasting, and he was saying that there were like bullets that had gone down a child, like just crazy. Like
Shot down, like from a drone that's above them?
Yes, like something in the air. And he said that there were drones in the air all day. You know, there's that Palantir company just keeping tabs on everything that was happening. And
Palantir's involved in Gaza?
Palantir was involved in Gaza, yeah.
For sure?
Mm-hmm.
This section actually makes Joe look worse, not better. Because now he starts elaborating on Theo's antidepressants, how Theo was coming off them, how they'd talked privately, how Theo's been doing yoga and running and feeling better. Bro, that is not helping. That is literally you confirming that you took a private mental health context and dragged it into a public political disagreement. You weaponized the fact that your friend had a history with antidepressants and used it to blur the line between Theo is saying something upsetting about Israel and Theo may not be in a stable place. Joe keeps talking like the problem was context. No, the problem was Joe using the language of care as a disguise for shutting the conversation down.
Like, what did you think when you saw that video
I mean,
for
I
the
just
first
saw
time?
a random video on Twitter one day. I was just like, look at Theo leaving stage, and like, why would he have even said that?
Right.
That's pretty much what I saw, and I was like, I knew nothing else about it.
I got scared. I got scared, first of all, because I love Theo, and second of all, because I've known multiple people that have taken their own life that I was close to that I didn't know they were going to do it until they did it. And when they did it, you feel so fucked and so helpless. You don't know what you could have said or done differently. Since the podcast where I told him, he started talking about Israel and people were saying I was covering for Israel. There's people that even say my wife is Jewish. She's not. I don't know why people are saying that, but I get how if you are conspiratorially minded, you would think that that's what I was doing. But if you've listened to the show, you wouldn't think that that's how it. I've had so many episodes where we criticize Israel. So many so that I brought in Dave Smith to argue with Douglas Murray because I didn't want Douglas Murray to be able to say these things that were promoting this war in Gaza without someone who's very educated who understands what's going on, which is Dave, and very good at arguing.
Then Joe pulls the same move every fake neutral guy pulls when he gets caught leaning too hard in one direction. He starts reading off his resume. I had Dave Smith debate Douglas Murray. I've had these conversations. I do talk about this stuff. Okay, Joe. And you still folded the exact moment it mattered. Joe thinks previous episodes are a moral coupon code. Like if he hosted the right guest once, that means he didn't absolutely hoe himself out when Theo was sitting right in front of him. But the whole reason this apology exists is because when the real tension showed up live, Joe didn't act like some brave open host. He acted like a panicked little guidance counselor, trying to get his friend away from the Israel button.
Have you ever been?
Have you been to Israel?
No. From that perspective, from that podcast on, Theo has gotten off the meds. He titrated off. He weaned himself off. He's doing yoga every day or running every day. He's doing something. He's much happier and much healthier. So it's for him to see that I think that he's suicidal. Like, fuck. That's my failing. That's my failing as a friend. That's my failing as a person. And it's also me talking to Marcus, almost sort of selfishly, ham-handedly try to explain why I talk to him the way I talk to him on that podcast.
And this might be the most Rogan line in the whole thing. Some conversations need a post-podcast podcast. No, they don't, Joe. They need you to not instantly turn into Walgreens Freud the second a guest starts talking about Gaza in a way that makes you sweat. Then comes the official apology beat, and even here, Joe still cannot just land the plane. He says he wanted to apologize. He says he felt bad. He says he doesn't want Theo to feel like he doesn't support him. And all of that is fine as far as it goes. But look at what's missing. Joe never cleanly says, I was wrong to use antidepressants as a frame for Theo's criticism of Israel. He never says, I made anti-war speech sound like a symptom. He never says, I did exactly what powerful people do when they don't want to engage the point. I made the speaker sound unstable. Because if Joe said that out loud, the whole thing would finally become too plain. So instead he gives you apology vapor. Enough to calm down the room, not enough to truly indict himself.
And, these are kind of subjects that sometimes, like, you almost need, like, a podcast to sort of break down why you were thinking about certain things. But, so, then it comes out, like, Theo has to defend it, and then I called him up and I said, dude, I'm so sorry. I didn't even think of that, and that's very selfish of me. I didn't think that you would have to respond. I didn't even think of it. I just wanted to explain it when Marcus was talking about it, and I wanted to put it into a context. Like, Theo is one of my favorite people. He's a very unusual and very amazing person. The last thing I would ever want to do is hurt that guy. And the last thing I'd ever want to do is, like, say something that would have people think about him in a negative way, which I'm sure I did. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. And I wanted to apologize, but the whole this problem with, like, people that are suffering, and I'm not even saying he's suffering anymore because I think he's doing well right now, but at times he has been. They don't tell you what's going on, and especially a guy like Theo, I don't see him that often. I see him every few months, and when I talk to him, it's fun. We have the best time. We laugh a lot. I love being his friend. I love hanging out with him. But I worry, and having been through this with, like, Ari, where Ari, like, and I should say this, like, Theo got off antidepressants. Antidepressants probably saved Ari's life.
Now Joe admits he did a huge disservice to his friend, and that in a Clips environment, it made him look like an asshole who threw Theo under the bus. Good, because that is exactly what it looked like. And here's the funny part. Joe talks about the Clips environment like it's some natural disaster, like lightning struck and turned him into an asshole by accident. No, Joe. The clip didn't invent anything. The clip just preserved what you did. The problem was not that people saw too little. The problem was they saw enough. They saw, you hear your friend talk about Israel, and immediately reach for the antidepressant holster.
It was Ari Shafir. I'll never forget this. We were playing pool, and he was just seemed really weird. And I said, what's going on, man? And he's like, I'm just trying not to kill myself. I'm like, oh, fuck. And then we put the pool cues down. I'm like, what's going on? Like, and so I think he was taking an antidepressant then, but it wasn't working. And I got him a different psychiatrist, and they got him on an antidepressant that helped him. And it really helped. And then his life started getting better. His career got way better. That's when This Is Not Happening came out. He was killing it, and then he weaned himself off, and now he's fine. And he's not the only one. I've had a couple other friends that have gotten on antidepressants and it's fixed their life, at least temporarily, and then they got off of it. I mean, I don't think it's impossible, but I get real scared when people get attached to these things and they can't get off of them. And this is this is the case, I think, at least in some part. I mean, Theo was on them for like 20 years. And I'd send him a bunch of these articles about these people that like lose feeling in their genitals and all these crazy side effects of getting off of these things.
And that's why this apology still feels weirdly cheap. Joe says if people are upset at him, they're right. Fine. But then why bury the apology at the back of an episode with a guest nobody was clicking for in the first place? If you really believed you publicly did your friend dirty, why not make the correction as visible as the insult? Why not title it clearly? Why not give it its own clip? Because this was not really about Theo. It was about cleanup. About getting something on the record without making the correction bigger than the mistake. And that's the final Joe move right there. Even when he says sorry, he still sounds like a man trying to control blast radius. He's not really facing what happened, that when Israel came up and Theo got too close to the nerve, Joe reached for the oldest coward move in the book. Don't answer the politics, question the person's stability. And then, once the backlash got loud enough, quietly apologize where only the true sickos will hear it.
When I feel, having that conversation with Marcus and not doing a good job and just sort of selfishly explaining Theo's situation and not even knowing the context of that thing, I felt like I did a huge disservice to my friend and also to people listening, like especially in this clips environment where people are getting things from clips. You would see that and you go, oh, you fucking asshole. Like, what are you doing? You're throwing your friend under the bus. And if you're upset at that, you're right. Like, I'm upset at me. So I can understand why you would be upset at me. That was never my intention. But both from the podcast that we did with Theo, where I was trying to talk him off the ledge, but I did a bad job, when I was like, I think you're losing your marbles. I just didn't want him to just go down this, and this is not excusing anybody for Islamist ideology, because it's scary, because they want a global caliphate, right? They're radicals. But you got to go back to what happened in that country. And if you go back to what happened in that country, they tried to nationalize oil. Iran was like a westernized country. Girls were wearing miniskirts. Everybody's hot.
You seen that video from the 70s of Iran?
Yeah, bro. Everybody
Tits
looked
are
great.
popping.
I think most
War
good
is a unique
people,
term.
War is a fucking terrifying.
But I mean, I wouldn't call what he does war. But I
you mean what they're doing right now in Gaza?
Yeah, and I'm not jumping on you.
Iran is war. That's war. Iran's a real enemy. It's a different.
Are they an enemy to America?
Well, what they are is the largest country in terms of like state-sponsored terrorism. They're the largest sponsor of terrorism. But also, you got to think why. Seems like it's a little dangerous.
I mean, in that sense, yes. But go there and live out the vibe. Look, it's an incredibly gay-tolerant place, right? Tel Aviv, short of San Francisco, New York, Montreal, it's one of the most queer-friendly places. It's very bohemian. It's reggae music playing. Israelis are, in French, you say bon vivant, good livers.
But
right?
it's also Israeli society doesn't universally support the war either.
Exactly. But that speaks to the fact that there is a multiplicity of realities. It's an open society, right?
Yeah.
This whole Israel is incredibly gay-tolerant, bohemian, reggae music, good livers section is so shameless it almost plays like parody. It's like Joe thinks if you say queer-friendly enough times, the rubble disappears. Oh wow, there's nightlife? Amazing. I guess the bomb stopped mid-air then. This is how PR works on his show. Turn a live moral question into a travel ad. Theo says Gaza is hell and Joe medicates him. A safer framing says Tel Aviv has a vibe and Joe nods like he's reviewing a resort.
That also explains why people think, for example, that I defend Israel because I'm Jewish. There is an element to that. I mean, most of my family's in Israel. But it's really, I defend Israel because many of its values are congruent with those that we hold dear in the United States. So given the region of the Middle East, if I'm going to send my daughter or yours to some university to study, I would much rather for her to be in a society in Tel Aviv or Haifa than I would in many of the other places. So it's in that sense that I'm pro-Israel. So if you ask me to allocate 100 points to how much of my support of Israel is due to the fact that many of its foundational values are similar to those of the United States versus the fact that I'm Jewish and Israel is a Jewish state, I would say 80-20 for the latter, meaning that I am defending the civilizational values of Israel in a very, very difficult and belligerent neighborhood.
Israeli society doesn't universally support the war either. Cool. And that's one of Joe's favorite little escape ladders. Find the internal complexity, then use it as a blanket to cover the actual dead. Nobody said every Israeli agrees. The point is, the war machine still functions, civilians still die, and Joe suddenly gets very interested in nuance, only when nuance protects the right side from moral clarity. This whole Israel is tolerant, bohemian, reggae, good livers section is so shameless it almost loops around into comedy. Oh wow, there's nightlife? Amazing. I guess the rubble disappears then. I guess the bombs just politely reverse course. I guess dead kids don't count if there's a decent hummus spot nearby. That is how PR works on Joe's show. Take a live moral horror and soften it into lifestyle branding. Theo says Gaza is a nightmare. Joe prescribes antidepressant skepticism. Safer people say Tel Aviv is fun. Joe nods like he's booking a table.